listening to Radio Prospero. A new edition of the Tizcan podcast starts now.
Why don't we talk about Defilers, Tom?
Yeah, let's do it. So, man, they're good. Yeah, I went to a GT recently taking a list, which was 2 Defilers, a 10-man Scarab Terminator. I took Magnus. I took 3 Zangor Lightning with Spears. I took a squad of Secretary robots, and I took a Vortex Winged Prince and a Sorcerer with 5 Heldrakes, and then a Crystal on the Terminator squad. And that list is extremely strong. Defilers themselves just open up so many avenues for Thousand Suns as a ranged platform. They have all the right rules for us, I think. My favorite part about playing them that weekend was that I played into 3 armies that had them as well. I played into 2 CSM armies and a Death Guard army. And the best part about Thousand Suns one is that we have a built-in Finlevin, which means in the Defiler fight of back and forth, in the aggregate, usually that means ours survive when theirs don't. So we have 3 to 4 extra wounds effectively on our Defilers, which means that if they're shooting mine, it doesn't die, and when I shoot theirs, it does die. So it makes them very efficient. And I'm really happy with them. I'm also very surprised that when we got the nerfs to stuff this week on Wednesday, not touch them at all, because I was fully expecting to have them go up in price. I'd be comfortable paying about, I think, $270 for these things in Thousand Suns, and I'd still take 1 or 2 maybe. They're really good. I like them a lot.
Probably for most people, they're probably curious how, overall, how did your games go? What was your record for the weekend?
Yeah, so I went 5-0,
Okay.
which was obviously I
Pretty
won the event.
damn good.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was a smaller event. It's the end of the edition, so it's a little lower attendance. But people that were there, people that I played, were one of the best people in the area. It was against the big game that I was happy I won was Death Guard game. I played into Aaron Hermstead, who's a very, very, very strong Death Guard player. I think he's currently, as of the recording, top ITC Death Guard. He's been in the top 10, in top 3 or 4 in the past year. Won a bunch of events, and he was playing a 3 Defiler Mortarian and then Poxwalker list in Hammer Mortarian. And so it was a crab fight, and I was very happy that I won that game because I've played Aaron a lot. He's on my team sometimes, so I know he's a very good player. And the big deciding factor was that I just had the ability to just push. I got first turn roll off, which was important because against Hammer of the Emperor, Hammer of Mortarian, he is able, if he gets first turn, to get 2 rounds of indirect shooting at me. He had 2 Plague Burst Callers in the list. Because I went first, I got the party started early, and I actually killed his one Defiler with teleport and Terminators turn 2. So it was a big swing there, and then he brought everything else out to shoot my Defilers on my Terminators. But like I said, because of my 6++++, I was able to survive the shooting, and also Magnus passed his 4-ups. And so from then on, I cleaned up 2 more Defilers the next turn, and then it was just Mortarian and a PVZ left. And that's not enough to clean up 2 Defilers and Magnus. So it was a great game, but it was definitely the game where I was very happy that I had the 6++ Finland Pain, and also that I ran both Defilers and the Terminators. The other games are pretty good too. I played into a Renegade Raiders CSM list, which gave me some trouble. My lowest score was 70 to 60, something like that. Lowest score of the weekend. It was tough because he had 2 Defilers as well, and those things are cracked. Even outside of Pac-Man Zealots, I was into Renegade Raiders, and they were still being able to advance and shoot and having good Overwatch. Later in that same event, the player that I played my Imperial Knights friend, and he overwatched a Lancer, not Lancer, at full health, and 1 Defiler overwatching killed the entire Lancer in Overwatch. It was like 3 6s to hit with sustained, and then he failed all 6 4-up invuls and died. So they're wild. That game was close because I kind of whiffed on my go turn and then I kind of discovered points. But Magnus survived long enough that I held on. And then I played into round one. I played into a Skit Legion list, which was a pretty simple matchup for us these days. Defilers help there a lot, obviously, because they're just a bunch of non-second damage. But also Terminators are great there. Winged Prince is great there. It's not a very hard fight for me because I just have all the tools for it. Then I played round four, round three. I played into a second CSM list, which was kind of a rush down Huron's Marauders list. And it was tough, but their game plan was, run at me, and my game plan was it's map 6 on W. I can just sit back with 2 Defilers and say, okay, I'm gonna overwatch you on 4s with the front facing Terminators. So in that game, he got first, he pushed up turn 1, and then left a gap where I could drop my Terminators in, surge them, and shoot and kill Abaddon's brick turn 1. So losing Abaddon in that list kind of just shut me off. And then round 5, the finals, was against Black Templars. In that game, early on I got screwed in secondaries because I drew some really poor ones. I drew Cole the Horde when he had his 20-man brick in the backfield. I drew Assassination when no characters were out in the open. And I drew like some weird ones like Engagement All Fronts turn 1 on Search and Destroy. Sorry, Crucible Battle. And so there was some tough ones there, but turn 3, I kind of just said screw it, and I pushed Magnus up and just kind of started playing. And I basically set the trap. I said, okay, he's probably going to kill Magnus, but I have 10 Terminators and 2 Defilers behind him. And he went for it. He killed Magnus, but then I killed 1,000 points on him in one turn. The Defilers just sat there and shot, and when they shoot Marine bodies with their 30 some odd shots of damage 2, damage 3, base AP2, it just evaporates Marine bodies. So I think they're really strong, and I'm not the only one who has success this weekend. I took a list that was made by a person over in Europe who took it to the Malmo team event over in Sweden, and he, over the course of the 5 rounds, he scored 99 points and lost 1 point team-wise. So pretty solid list, I think. And yeah, they're super solid. Obviously, ours is one of the better ones. I'm not sure if having played into the Death Guard one, they are pretty good. My initial thought was that they were the second best one. I think we might have the second best one, to be honest. Because ours with the Feel the Pain and the better Overwatch, it just makes them so good. So those are my thoughts. I had a really good event, and I'm excited to keep playing them because they get nerfed. So yeah.
Well, first of all, congrats on the result. I mean, that's awesome. Anytime you can go 5-0, it's hard enough just to pull that off. You need so much stuff to just line up for you. I'm curious in the games. Obviously, there were a lot of chaos lists out there. They're still out there. They're all running Defilers. Like, I mean, across the board, it's kind of like the new hotness. Everybody's on it. We'll get to kind of some thoughts on that in a minute, but I'm curious in your games how kind of figuring out how to word this. So when back in during the index time, if I think about what Thousand Suns were like to play then, there was much more than just the aspects of how you traded pieces. Like there were more things you had to do, more tricks you had to employ, things like that. How much right now is it just down to, like, if I looked at your Death Guard match, was it basically just who trades out what, and the fact that the Feel No Pain helped you kind of push the Defilers over the edge for you? Is that really what it came down to, or was there a lot more going on in that game that it wasn't just about the Defilers, or it wasn't just about I don't know, just the pieces of the puzzle essentially on the board?
Yeah, so I think the big thing with the Defilers, I'll talk about them first. I do think the 6+++ is very relevant. Obviously, samples of 5, so nothing crazy. But I think people that play them will agree that I have had multiple games in tournaments and in practice where I've had my Defiler live on 1 or 2 wounds when it should have died if it had no Philippine. And that's, big because then I can still shoot with it, right? I had, like, in Death Guard game, I think he left both of my Defilers at one point on 1 wound or 2 wounds when I passed, like, 1 or 2 Philippines. If it would have died, then I had him. So I think they're very important. I do think, though, that the Defiler lists, especially the one that I'm running, they really are not playing very much like classic Thousand Suns, where you're trying to, like, set up the puzzle, solve the equation, find the perfect turn. I do think in a lot of matchups, it actually serves you a lot better to aggressively deploy your Secretars early and then set up and plan for a turn 1 Terminator drop. Like, you go turn 1, you go up, you go down, you kill something, you draw things out, and then turn 2, you table them. Because you do have just the immense amount of damage from the list. There obviously are going to be some matches that won't work, but into, like, Marines or even, like, other Defiler lists, I think if you can find a way to, because Defilers, as we all know, are on a giant base, and they're very hard to hide more than one in your opponent's zone from teleported Terminator shooting. So if you're playing into a mirror match that has Defilers, I do think if you can set up a place where you can, like, aggressively deploy your two Secretars, clear space for a turn 1 Terminator drop in, surge, and kill a Defiler, that is a really big tempo swing in your favor. So that line of play is very important because you can just threaten to stat check your way through a lot of armies. Because you have Magnus, you have 2 Defilers, you have 10 Terminators. That's 4 targets that opponents have to deal with, or they just kill you. And so, if you can properly leverage those four targets in the right time, you can really make a lot of work. I teleported Terminators turn 1, 2 games, turn 2 for the other 2 games, and 1 turn I had them held back for a meta matchup. But 4 out of the 5 games, they teleported either turn 1 or turn 2. And really, the important thing is that choice really came down to, did I go first or did I go second? Like, if I went first, I pretty much always said, all right, here we go, and I'd up and down in turn 1. If it went second, I usually waited the turn, let my opponent figure things out, and then didn't react actively. But having the turn 1 ability to just say, screw it, I'm going, is very important.
Yeah, so that sounds like a very different play style from what most probably are used to, and that you're just, if I think traditional Thousand Suns, with or without Defilers, essentially, you're generally the counterattack army. You're generally saying, don't just go stand in the open turn 1. Whereas with how you're playing, it sounds like a little bit opposite of that, and that you do kind of go sit out in the open a little bit, and you do basically just threat overload essentially, and just say, look, you're saturating the board with so many targets that there's only so much they can do, so much they can bring down in a turn, and whatever they do show, it's gone anyways on the following turn.
Well, I think that is even more important for the Defilers, because our Defilers are designed with that in mind. You can, because one, like I said, they're hard to hide, so your opponents are going to get a shot on them if they get a chance to. But because we have better Overwatch with them, and because we have stronger like defensive profiles for them, then they can just stand in the open and deliver, and they can just make a lot of problems for your opponent. Obviously, all that is match dependent. There's plenty of lists and games where an opponent can threaten to kill 2 Defilers in 1 turn, and in that case, you would play them more conservatively. But there are a lot of matchups in the game where it's just like, yeah, if I put 10 Terminators in your face turn 1, you have to bring out stuff to deal with them, and I can just turn 2 kill it all. Like, that was the Death Guard game that I played. I forced him to respawn 2 Terminators, and then when he did, I forced my Defilers out in the middle to kill one of his. My Terminators killed the second one. And the third one and Morty had to come out, and then they were just out of stuff. So there's still plenty of room for traditional Thousand Suns. I do think in the Defiler meta, the traditional Thousand Sons build of I run 4x5 rubrics, 10 Terminators, and Magnus is actually quite good because you have a bunch of really hard targets that are a lot of points that you can sink like a sorcerer into. Like a squad of rubrics plus a Doom Bolt. I haven't done the math, but if you pop the go turn on the sorcerer and you give it rerolls, they might do it. They have a pretty decent chance, I would assume, of not killing, extremely hurting a Defiler. And it's just like when Knights were good. We still have good matchups there, but also you can just take 2 Defilers, and you're like, I also have crabs, and so it's just a matter of we're in a really good spot no matter what you play.
So on the Terminators, when you were dropping them down, it's kind of interesting because some of the math I think we were looking at was suggesting that and I think some folks were even talking about the fact that Defilers actually do a good job of picking up Terminators, and even our Terminators. The -1 to wound doesn't really slow that down very much. So I'm curious, when you were in those matches where you saw those enemy Defilers, were you basically positioning your Terminator so that, look, I'm gonna pick up this Defiler, and there isn't going to be another one that can get to him?
So yes and no. I do think one big thing that I tried to do was, obviously we deploy them very safely because they can teleport. One helpful thing that is really good into facing Defilers, at least on Games Workshop terrain, is that oftentimes they have to tow in to ruins to be deployed properly or stand in a place. And that means you can see them, but they can't overwatch you. So that's big because Overwatch is very scary, obviously. Um, and then, but honestly, I think the thing is, in my experience with when I played the Defilers, if I could if I could put a Terminator brick on a flank to kill a Defiler, and they're pretty good at that. I was pretty happy doing that, even if a second one could come walk over and shoot them, because at that point the opponent is like, if they're running 2 Defilers and I kill one of them, 1 Defiler does not kill a squad of Terminators. 2 can, but then 2 Defilers are in the face of my 2 and Magnus.
You've
So
probably
really,
also isolated those 2 over on one section of the map
yeah.
too. So it's kind of like the rest of the board is wide open for your other pieces.
Well, and we also have to think, like, yes, Defilers are 250 points right now, but they're worth a lot more than that. And if you can kill one with Terminators, that's almost always going to be a good trade firepower-wise, because you have, at least in my list, I have other things that can deal with stuff. Like, I don't necessarily need Terminators to do all the work in this list. I have the Defilers do a lot of work, Magnus can put in work too. Even the Winged Prince can be supportive. Like in Death Guard match, I think I pretty much threw the Prince away to kill Lord of Virulence to get rid of the rerolls, because obviously hit rerolls very good for Defilers. And when I killed Lord of Virulence, then he could not kill my stuff easily, so I was able to just push it, and that was really important. But yeah, I think if you can teleport Terminators into a safe spot where they can only get shot back by minimal stuff, then obviously you want to leverage that, because they're really good at cutting Defilers. If they can get in trap fire range, they do pretty consistently kill, or at least bring down to a Doom Bolt or like grenade level a Defiler. And I think that's very valuable because they're all everywhere right now. Yeah.
It kind of takes the T11 out of the equation with lethals and everything. You just drown
Yep.
them in bullets, just like everything else. When we talked about the Defilers, I think the last time we were on here, we talked about kind of the profiles that had come out, and I remember that I haven't gone back and actually listened to it at this point, but I remember that I know my opinion of it was that they looked really good, but I was probably still of the opinion that the role they were playing was very overlapped with the Vindicator in Thousand Sons. It seems like my opinion was probably proven wrong in that the Defiler is definitely a lot stronger for the points where it is, that it offers a lot more, even though you're paying like almost double, basically. Especially, we know there's going to be point changes coming, and they're probably just delaying that for 11th. But we know that even at an increased price level, like let's say they're 300 points, Like I think at 300 points, they're so good right now that there's a lot of people that probably still run at least one in their list. And that is pretty much damn near twice the price of a Vindicator. So does it offer twice of what the Vindicator does? And I think it's being proven that, yeah, it pretty much does. Even with the big base, I think that was something that everybody was kind of concerned about. Can we, and like you said, in some cases you have to put them into terrain on the maps to just be able to hide them. So I think that was one of the concerns people had was, is that going to inhibit their usability in games? The going over terrain thing was definitely a big thing for them to be able to overcome that. And we know that there's still some issues like the fact that Temporal Surge is 6 inches and the base size is like 6.2 inches or whatever. So there's still that kind of, downside to it in some cases. But you can use Magnus to kind of, help you in your movement phase at least, and at least try and, just kind of get around that, I guess. So
So
you're not trying to set that up. So
one big thing that Magnus's move buff helps with that I discovered at the event was that those big rectangles on games or top terrain are 6 inches wide. So if you have ruins that are like on the edge of this rectangle, a Defiler without +2 move cannot walk from off the terrain to the other side because they're 6 inches wide. But because Magnus is there, they go 14.
14.
They can cross right over. So that's huge. Like that's a big reason. So that like you want to run Coven over other things so you can get around places. I do think Workforce Cabal is obviously very good with
I'm
Defilers.
and I'm surprised on that. I feel like we would have seen more people lean into Warforged with the Defilers, and just the fact that they get way more they get way more support, in my opinion, in that detachment than they do in Coven. But I guess they don't need it.
Yeah, well, we did have a very successful run with them at Home Nations. Zach White for Team USA took a three Defiler, three Forge Fiend, three Winged Prince list to I think a pretty much like clean slate. He walked through pretty much every option he had. I think the problem is that in singles with that list, there is some vulnerability where if you get your psychers dead early, a lot of the strats turn off. But the +1 to rune strat, for example, is pick the Defiler and a psyker within 6. If there's no psyker, you can't use it. So that's tough because that means if you are running the three princes and you're doing the thing they're going forward, they're trying to do their job and open up Overwatch options. You can't give your vehicles +1 wound or like their other buffs too. So there is some limitations there, but I do think it's very good. And as we all know, the best thing about Warforged Cabal is that it technically you could get a hit roll, a wound roll, and damage reroll. But we already have hit rerolls from our spells, and most our stuff is not rerolling damage. So you only really want the wound reroll, and you can get that for just being around. So there's no psycho required for that one.
You probably get more mileage out of it with 3 Defilers because you need to
Yeah.
maximize how many of those you're getting essentially. And it's, again, like you're saying, it's going to be in the wound and the damage rolls are really where the value is. But I mean, if you're taking what most of the weapon options, I think actually are more like flat damage, outside of,
Yeah,
um,
only the
is
last
there,
cannon Delta.
yeah, that was the only one that I could think of actually. And
Everything else, and like you don't really want them in Thousand Suns because we have AP2. So why would you use
yeah,
normal last cannon, right?
yeah.
Like
So
just run the auto cannons, dude.
just consistent. Yeah, and that just
Yeah,
goes back to one of the things I think we've talked about, is that random damage always loses out to flat damage, most of the time. Um, so Defilers, obviously, the way they are right now in the meta is definitely way stronger. Everybody obviously is looking for nerfs to them. I mean, you can ask anybody who doesn't play Chaos, they'll tell you hands down, oh God, they need to be nerfed immediately. And they're probably very upset that they didn't get nerfed in this last round.
yeah.
That's pretty objectively a good sign that these things are probably overpowered. The points are probably the first thing I think most people are looking at. Um, what do we think? Where should they be? I threw 300 out. Am I overcorrecting
Um,
at that?
wow, it's so tough to decide. I do think
And
that if
and,
nothing else,
and I'm not saying they're going to go straight to 300. I'm just saying
no,
like
no,
they
but
obviously will make like a 10 or 15 point change first, and then they'll gradually go
yeah,
from there.
of
That's just how
course they will.
GW does it. But
Yeah,
where they
I,
land is kind of what I'm asking. Where would they land after all the nerfs to get them at the sweet spot essentially?
I think, especially if pack-bound zealots. First off, I don't think we're gonna get any change for them in 10th. I think 10th is set in stone. So if you're hoping for a Defiler nerf in 10th, you could get lucky, but I would be very surprised if we get that before 11th edition. They are so obviously checked out of 10th edition by now. And I mean, I can't really blame them. We already have half the rules for that anyway, so why even care? But for us playing 10th is a little annoying. I do think, if nothing else, the Pact Bound Zealots CSM Defilers should be at least 290, if not 300 points. Because talk about insane. Those things are just, there's nothing that can survive them. They just point at stuff and delete anything in the game. I think ours are not quite the level of Packbound, but definitely they sacrifice a bit of the damage for just the durability, and then also the Overwatch is better. So I think they're like second tier. I'd put ours 270, 275, and that's probably still fine. It's not too much, not too bad. I'd probably put Death Guards around there too, because those are really good. Um, and even though the Emperor's Children one is obviously very good, um, I'm not sure if it's. I haven't played it against this. So I'm not sure if I can give a very like unbiased analysis, but it just feels like it's in the list because it's the only option for EC. It's a very good option, but they have no other option for anti-tank, and so it might not be as broken and busted as ours are. So I put it like 265, and then honestly, even though the Warriors one is kind of not as good, it still should be 260-ish. It's still way too much firepower for one to
Yeah.
250 model. So yeah,
Well, I mean,
I'd
the
say
fact that
with
they're in
that,
every detachment in every
yeah,
army basically right now just tells you that it's not it's not solely the detachments or the rules and things like that. Like across the board, it sounds like they definitely need to have a 10 to 15 point increase at a minimum. And then after that, yeah, okay, maybe you start making some more adjustments depending on, who the worst offenders are.
mhm. Like you strip away all the rules that extra ones have, and it's still just like 25 shots of really efficient firepower. That is just not. It's on a tough body to kill, so it's like even without the faction specific rules, it still is a really solid data sheet that should not be that cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a
I
great
think
shooting platform, and it's
yeah,
great that they did a very good job, I think, overhauling Defiler, because up until they did do this, that I hadn't seen a Defiler on the table in forever. So I'm
yeah. Well,
glad
I
they
think
did. The model's great. I mean, it's like all around, it's great to see the Defiler actually back. Now it's a matter of, okay, let's tone things down a little bit and you know see where we go from there. I mean, does 11th edition, from what you've seen so far, does that change things with the defi, like if you just took it as it is today, and now you're talking about like you have the new cover penalties of -1 to hit, you have other penalties that can get thrown in there, or -1 to ballistic skill, and then you've got the -1 to hit, so you can be stacking like -2 to hit essentially onto your defilers. That not insignificant, when right now that's not necessarily a problem they have to deal with. They pretty much know if they roll out there, they're hitting on what they hit on. There's very few things that are -1 to hit isn't going to slow them down that much, but -2 definitely does. So
yeah,
that's
I
kind of
think
my curiosity there.
yeah, I think if they don't change the points on the defilers, then they're still going to be extremely good in early 11th edition. obviously there are plenty of ways we've seen so far that might make them easier to deal with. The hidden rules, making infantry hide from being, it's hard. It's not impossible for a Defiler to get within 15, but makes it a little bit more difficult. I do think though that the -1, the whole cover and stealth thing, um, for a lot of Defilers, like in Death Guard and Role Leaders and EC to an extent, that might be a big change. But I don't think CSM and Thousand Suns are going to care because we have full hit rolls. We can just say, oh, hitting on fives, okay, I roll everything twice, and I still get, a decent amount of hits, and I'm still wounding on a decent wound roll. And if I'm CSM, okay, I roll my 4 las cannon shots. I hit with 2 of them. I reroll the next one. I hit a third. I get 1 stained. Cool. Back to 4. Wonderful. Here we go. Or if you get lucky, okay, I still roll 3 sixes, and now I have 6 shots. So we'll see. I do think that if 11th does not change, if there aren't any big core shakeups to the way shooting works, which it doesn't seem like there is, besides hidden and cover being hit penalties, I do think Defilers are still going to be exceptional in early 11th edition. And, they're probably going to go up in points. If they do, that brings them more in line with what they should be. But I don't think we're going to see them gone for a while. I think we're going to have builds of them for quite a while. And then, maybe Games Workshop just punts them into the sun, and I put on the shelf where it's going to be a display case. But I'm not sure if they're going to do that with the fact that this is the early part of the edition.
Plus, it's a new model, and Games Workshop is a model company, right? So they want to sell the models.
Well, and there, according to what I've heard on the wavelength, there is like at least a 3-week completely sold out window right now. That they're selling as fast as they can print them. So it's not going to be a problem selling them anytime soon.
I'm not shocked by that. I mean, we'll get to some of the more of the 11th edition stuff here, because today they talked about psychic modifiers letting you, or psychic keywords letting you ignore hit modifiers when you roll to hit and everything in 11th. So that if they hand that out in Warpforged, then now you just don't even care about cover and that stuff. So you just you do whatever you want. So is there anything else happening with Thousand Suns right now that you're seeing that is worth noting at the moment? Or are we pretty much just total dead meta? We're having a good time with Defilers, and that's about it.
Yeah, the only kind of special thing that I'm seeing besides Defilers is I have seen there was other successful lists at the Malmo Teams event that I saw that were running in Coven. They took the on footprints instead of the wing prints, which I'm not sure I love, but what it does do is it gives you a much better matchup into Tau, because you can just put that Lonot Prince on a point and be somewhat safe. If not safe, they have to be close to you, which, as we know, is a great spot for everybody else in order to kill them. But outside of that innovation, and it's not an innovation, it's just the fact that Lonot is against Tau. Despite that innovation, there isn't much new in Thousand Suns, because the only new thing is the Defiler, because we don't have any new models besides it. So yeah, it's just kind of a thing where the old-fashioned Thousand Suns list turns out is really good at killing big hard targets, which is not really news. And also we have our own big hard target to surge around and shoot stuff with, which is also really good. But yeah, pretty much bog standard Thousand Suns stuff, with the addition of we have a really good playstyle now. But yeah.
Well, we haven't seen anything yet for Thousand Suns for 11th edition preview wise. We're only really just reading between the lines on things. Obviously, the psychic keyword came out or the psychic keyword news came out today. They did preview some stuff with Chaos Space Marines and Demons. It's good to see that Demons aren't totally going away
they're back.
in 11th.
Kind of. They're as here as they are in 10th. Just like, kind of here.
I mean, there was a moment last year where I think almost everybody was pretty much convinced that as a codex or as an army, essentially as a standalone army, they're gone. Like they were
Yeah,
getting folded into like Disciples of Tzeentch and style books going forward essentially, and that was going to be what it looked like. And look, maybe going forward, that's what we get. And they maybe offer just indexes essentially for demons to be run on their own, or
yeah.
what I mean is PDFs essentially on the site for them to be run on their own. Um, do you think that's where they're likely going with demons, or do you think demons are actually going to get a codex in 11th?
Well, let's put it this way: there are over 20 armies in 10th edition 40k, and only one of them did not receive a new model 10th edition, and that is, well, sorry, two of them. Titanicus, obviously, and then Demons. Even like Deathwatch got a new kill team, and Agents got a bunch of stuff. So if you're a Demons player, you're probably justified for looking at the writing on the wall and thinking, "Oh no." Um, Obviously, I think today might have helped you feel a bit better about it, but we obviously have nothing in the way of confirmation that they're going to be a codex in 11th edition. It would not surprise me at all if they just rolled them into the Thousand Suns, etc. codexes when they come out. You just call it Tzeentch, like in AOS. And I think for the most part, as long as they keep support for a way to play mono demons, I think if they roll everything into the four god codexes, if they do it right, that's going to be a positive change because it gives options. Now, I'm not sure I'm confident they will do that properly, but if they do it right, then I think it might be okay. But it is kind of sad to be a Demons player right now and realize that your life and your faction hangs by a thread, and you are an afterthought to the powers that be for the moment. Yeah, it sucks because you're right. There was a time not that long ago where the Doomers were almost right, and they almost got completely removed and turned into an afterthought because none of the detachments in the books that they came out with were really that great. Like
No.
they nerfed the Khorne one, and now it's stupid. Change hosts is not real. It's just a thing you can do if you want to.
Hey, I'm still a
And
fan.
then
I'm still a fan of it.
I mean, it's not bad, but like just play skin is my thoughts on it. And then I guess like the plague legion thing is cute. It's not horrible, but it's not great. And they nerfed the Slanesh one like day one, so they
Yeah.
clearly don't want the books to have good demon attachments in 10th. I could change in 11th, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I think with the demon or the detachment points, they have the system there to make this work a little bit better. But my thoughts on this is that I think that stance is not changing unless they are going to really make a good go at renovating the rules in a way that make it so that they are intended to be played across the board. Like if you fold demons, Tzeentch demons fully into Thousand Suns, and I don't mean just like the token units we got. I mean everything had to from top to bottom. Soul grinders are probably on their way out at this point. Like they're
Yeah,
done.
yeah.
But
Sad.
if you take everything else in there and just say, look, run those within your Thousand Suns army, and you can take them just as like that is like another option that you have. Horrors become just a normal battle line option across the board, and that you don't need a special detachment just to bring demons. Like they are actually part of the codex. Then I think you'd have a lot of people that would be like, you know what, this is on a flush side, this is Thousand Suns, and on the other side, I'm not forced to take them. I'm able to run my Rubric Marine heavy detachments normally, but then I have other options that might, go and lean much more heavily into it. And you can design all the data sheets with the intent of whatever the army rule is going to be. If it's rituals and ritual survives, you can have all of the data sheets written with that in context so that they're all balanced for it. And I think that would be perfectly fine. And you could repeat that same process for Khorne and Nurgle and Slaanesh. And I think that would work just fine. And I think the other thing from just a product and a business standpoint, GW has a problem with supply right now. I mean, that is definitely one of their challenges. They sell out constantly, whether it's intent or not. The fact that Defilers completely sold out and it's going to be weeks before there's even a chance to get another run at them. Those are, I mean, they could be running much more revenue essentially by just, selling stuff today. So if I look at the books, well, there's limited capacity at these printing presses to get these books made. They've got a number of books that they have to cram into their cycle for the year for the edition. So if you just say, look, we combine those, it makes their release cycle a lot easier. You get one bigger book. You can sell that book probably for more money than you would just a thin Thousand Sons codex. I mean, your card stack can get bigger. I mean, everything just kind of gets, better to just sell everything together essentially as just one go rather than 10th edition where there's nothing. There's no product line. There's no launch. There's no sales or anything. Like there's no demons. Demons didn't get any kind of special release or anything like that. So, I just kind of think it makes a lot of sense for them to do that. I don't know whether they're actually going to commit to doing it or not. I just feels like that writing has been on the wall for years. I mean, we could go back to 8th and 9th edition and say, look, everybody kind of had a sense of that would be really cool and they would never do it. And maybe where we're at today, they're finally ready to just, bite the bullet and do it.
Yeah, we'll see. I hope they do it right because I know plenty of people who really enjoy Demons as an army, and I hope that they're okay. But we'll see. It definitely did not give me good, happy vibes in 10th when they did what they did. So hopefully 11th can about that, but we'll see. One can hope and dream, and that's fair.
They're a big part of the lore. They're a big part of the game.
They are.
They've been there for a long time. It's not like Sisters, where it was kind of like, yeah, they're there, but we were able to live without them. They're not main players essentially in the story, where demons kind of are. They're a central role and they're a side role at the same time. Like they're there and they're not there.
And more than just that, in the lore we have for the Traitor Legions, a lot of them just do kind of just have demons that are around. Like if you read the Death Guard books, like there's Nurglings everywhere, and they're a big part of the scenes, and like they're Thousand Sons to a lesser extent don't work with them, but definitely consult with them, and like Armon does plenty of demon deals and stuff like that. So they're a part of the lore, and they're a part of the Traitor Legion's lore. So it really is kind of weird that they aren't already part. I mean, I'm sorry, they are currently part, weirdly, of the codex. They should be more integrated, I think. But yeah, we'll see. I'm hopeful. The fact they didn't just say, hey, they're allies today, is nice because that means that they at least aren't completely done with them.
I got an interesting question for you. So if you could trade, next edition, Thousand Sons are likely going to get another model. I think every release cycle right now, every army is getting a model. So I think everybody's expectations at this point, we're going to get something.
Yeah.
Would you trade that for a properly integrated Demons army with everything merged together?
Oh God. But I trade a new Thousand Sons model for access to the entire Tzeentch demon category.
Not just that, but like they do it right. They merge everything together. It's one cohesive book. Just imagine like the perfect scenario you could have for Thousand Sons and Tzeentch Demons being working together. Would you give up getting a model in the release cycle for that?
I think I would, because the amount of like added choices that would give us would be huge. I would love to run Screamers as my chaff over like Zangor Enlightened. They're very good. I would love to be able to, take Kairos and Magnus in the same list like it did in ninth before. I think it'd be awesome. I do want new models though. I'll also say that for sure. There's a lot of holes in the Thousand Suns range right now that I wish they filled. But I think I'd take that trade. I think I'd take that trade just because it would be the right thing to do. Like demons deserve that, and also the game deserves that level of care for a faction that has been part of the lore since the very beginning. Like, if demons did die, I would be very sad because they're a key part of 40k. They're in everything. They're the main driving force behind five factions of 40k. Like, they'd be very sad if they went away. So yeah.
Yeah, I think I'd probably make the same choice. I'd probably say, look, you know, I'd rather not get another Psyker hybrid conversion of some kind, and
Yeah.
you know, like a Warp Smith Psyker. I think we can wait on that, as much as I would love to have that model.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well,
I'd
it
be
would be
happy
really
to
good with
just not get that.
Defilers.
Exactly. I mean, it would be really, really cool to run it with Defilers.
I
But
would love to take an Ignis equivalent for my Defilers and be like, hey, I have a little Horsemith guy. It'd be awesome. But no, we didn't get
sitting
that.
behind the wall, healing them up.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think it would be much better for the army as a whole if we could get to a point where everything was, you know, much more unified that way. And just like I said, treat the whole Tzeentch catalog as just the Thousand Suns catalog. And
Yeah,
okay, sure, you're going to have to legend some stuff. I think Blue Scribes are going to have to probably go to legends. We're probably okay without them. I think
Yeah.
Changeling and Kairos are plenty of unique characters that you could take.
Yep.
But we should have heralds. We should have heralds on chariots. We should have chariots or flamers. We should have burning chariots, flamers, exalted flamers. Like all of those things should all be part of the all be part of the roster there. And I think the great thing is Thousand Suns are a very elite army, and doing so gives you a lot of lower and mid cost options in there that I think people would find more creativity in their list building than where we are right now. That's kind of the main selling point of doing that, and not being locked to something like just change hosts. Like you could do this in Grand Coven or Phalanx or whatever. Like you run Phalanx and toss a couple flamer units in there and just say go have at it. Like the incentives are there right now for you to run the Scarab Occult Terminators. Those players are going to, it's game theory, right? Players are going to follow the incentives that drive them to win. And the incentives say take Terminators, take Rubric Marines in a Phalanx list. So I don't feel like you're going to have a problem. They shouldn't be if you write everything cohesively, everything with the intent of it can be taken in all these detachments. It can work with the army rule, you know, all of that stuff. Then I think it would be fine. I think it would actually help the army out in a big way. I still don't know what they're going to do with land raiders, to be honest. And I think, hilariously, I think the Defiler actually makes that problem worse. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've heard the rumor that, you know, people been saying it for years, but it's like the Rider and the Defiler, the Rider and the Land Raider are going to go away soon. I don't know how it's going to work, because you're right. Like, if they make a Primaris Land Raider or Primaris Rhino or whatever the heck, then it's like, what did the CSM do? We don't have Primaris people. We have old stuff. Like, what do we do? So, and like, if they remove the Predator and the Vindicator and the Razorback, even around or touches that thing, that's still a lot of stuff we lose out on. Like you know, I don't love our Predator, but they are taken quite a bit. And the Rhino is very important for a lot of Thousand Suns lists. So yeah, it'd be weird if they got rid of that chassis or upgraded it. I'm not sure what they would do with the CSM line.
I don't think they know what they're going to do in Space Marines with it, because you got so many people that love the model, but its replacement is the repulsor. So, yeah, I
mean, I don't know.
But the big thing is the Defilers. The problem with the Land Raider has always been that it doesn't know what it is. Is it a transport? Is it a gun platform? It's always been kind of like you're paying for both in one model, and it's a waste. It's very inefficient. So if they can get to a point where they make the Land Raider make sense, I guess, in
Yeah, I
lists
hear you.
from a model, like make it make sense and have a role. Where right now it doesn't have a role. And for Thousand Suns, really hammering home this that okay, if it's a transport, what are you transporting?
Mhm.
Um, Terminators? I mean, you can take 5 in there, 6, 7, whatever. You can
Yeah,
take that.
yeah, I'm not sure what especially for us, like we don't have a melee unit that we want to deliver via Land Raider. Like in World Eaters and Death Guard to an extent, they're still bad, but they're not like they have a role. It's like okay, I can at least deliver my Death Shroud Terminators or my Cord Berserkers if I want to. But in Thousand Suns, like we have the Strength 5 Power Swords, but we want to shoot, not charge. So too bad. So yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know.
And I mean, if you made it so that Rubric Marines could take the same swords, essentially, just
Swords.
let them take
Yes.
swords. Okay,
Yes.
well, are you making a case? Yeah, because you can fit 10 of them in a Land Raider. You can
Yeah.
take a full unit, and
Big.
now okay, I can see the purpose, and then the Land Raider has some dual roles that it can fill in after it's done its main job. But you also technically could do that with a Rhino today, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, even today you have the same thing in every single army that has both those options. Where typically, if you're taking a Land Raider, you probably can get away with taking the Rhino, and the Rhino will just save you so much more points for other stuff that you want to take. So
Mm-hmm.
again, I mean, I think they just need to figure out, does it need more guns? Like what does it need the Defiler glow up? Just like put more guns on it. I'm okay with that. But
Yeah.
then what do you do? I mean, you're probably priced similar to the Defiler, probably higher, right? Because you've got
Well,
2-up save, more wounds.
if we
You know,
go off of the Repulsor Executioner, you're right. Like it's 230. So that's pretty much what you're thinking. If you give the big boat a big gun, then it gets pricey. Yeah.
yeah. Or I mean, you get to a point where you can take gun versions of the Land Raiders or transport
Yeah.
hybrid versions, right? Kind of like the
Yeah.
Repulsor and the Repulsor Executioner. You get a reduced capacity, that kind of thing. Like I could see something like that, but I think they would have to really think that through, because you could do it for chaos, but your Marine players are going to have this very loud voices saying, "Why are you doing this for chaos and not for, you know, the
Yeah.
Imperium?" Even though the writing's on the wall on that, well, we already did this for you. It's the Repulsor and the Repulsor Executioner. Um, I don't know. The other thing I don't know is Heldrakes, man. Like I
Oh
don't
God,
know. I don't know what they're going to do with Heldrakes. It
I
is
don't know either.
when you
That
look at the point
model,
costs. Look at the point costs between the Heldrake and the Defiler,
I'll look it
and
up
what
right
they
now.
do. Like the Heldrake is more than the Defiler. I am almost certain of that. I think it's like 190.
The Heldrakes, I will check right now on let's see. Okay, Heldrakes right here
Yep,
is
250.
215. What the heck? Oh my God. Why is it 215? What is going on here? I thought 180 at the most. What the heck? Oh my God.
So
215 for this
we
thing?
we were just talking about 230, and you got a Repulsor Executioner and and a Hellbright,
Oh my.
or a
And
Heldrake is
it gets
215.
either A hate an autocannon or A bale flamer.
Yep, that's it.
And what like it strips cover. Oh my God, this thing sucks. I thought it was like 160. I was like, it's like too expensive, but like it's still there.
This is
215 for a oh my God.
this is what we call Games Workshop putting a whole line of models in timeout. And that is what happens
They
when
I guess they can't just
they
make
did not want
aircraft.
aircraft. Nope.
No, I guess not. Oh, that sucks.
So
It's a really cool model, but dang, 215 for that profile is not worth it at all.
a big
All the
thing.
legends, that'd be hilarious. Yeah, I mean, look, it wouldn't surprise me.
They
They've
can't get rid of the Heldrake. It's still a great looking
they
model. I
can't. No, but like the problem is like the Heldrakes is paying for the sins of the Storm
It
Raven.
didn't do
Like,
anything. It's the
I
sins of the
know, but
Eldar that it's paying for. It's not fair.
since the Eldar and Tau and Space Marines, and like there's like they just can't write a normal aircraft. They have to make them all like crazy, either crazy busted and also 2,000 points, or the literal worst thing you've ever seen and also 2,000 points.
So
It's like,
could you make them just basically work like vehicles that can ignore terrain for the purposes of movement? And if they are transporting, units cannot disembark in the same turn that it moves.
I think they
Like
could. I
or
think
after moving, essentially.
the problem is that they've shot themselves in the foot. They want to make aircraft special, but the way that they make them special is they have technically infinite movement. So you can just put a Storm Raven in your opponent's zone turn one, or not. So you could if it could come in turn one, and then instead of changing that rule and making it no, it's just a really cool flying vehicle. They said we're gonna keep this super busted movement thing, but you can't come in till turn two. Like
Is it
that's I don't know.
a question of wounds? I mean, that's the other thing I've thought about. What if you just take the wounds
Yeah.
down? Like if you look at the Heldrake's got what, 12
Well,
wounds. Okay,
mhm.
cut it down to like 8 wounds on it. Make
Yeah,
those things
make them
very
fragile.
easy to, yeah, make them like from a wound standpoint, make it, they can still be
Yeah,
armored, 3 up
yeah,
armor, that kind of stuff, -1 to hit, make them hard to hit. That's fine. But make it like once stuff gets through, they die. And so then you can bring the points down. You don't have to put tons and tons of shooting on them, and
yeah.
really just make sure that the elf ones are not what health ones used to be, which they were
Yeah,
-3 to hit and shot like crazy, and you just zoomed them all over and they hit everything. Like,
yeah.
maybe there's something there that they can do, but we'll see. The other thing they have revealed, by the way, is Battle Shock. So the cool thing
Yes,
that they're doing with Battle
it
Shock
actually
11th is,
matters now.
does the Hellbrute matter now? Because now you can basically Battle Shock stuff with it, right? So okay, something
Yeah.
stays Battle Shock until it unbattle shocks.
Well, my question on that is because I mean, I would, this would surprise me if it happened, but it'd be really cool and also very powerful if you got battle shocked and you had a modifier to your roll, you kept that mod until you went battle shocked. So
Yeah.
let's say you get like a Shadows North where you get like a -1 to your shock test or leadership. That minus might stay until you unbattle shock. And if that's the case, then suddenly battle shock matters a lot. I think that'll be a good change for battle shock armies. Um, it will still be a little weird because a lot of units that actually matter have like a 5 or a 6 leadership, and so most of the time they're still passing battle shock. But when you fail, or very importantly, when you get out of a destroyed transport, that's the big thing. Like one of the big things that
People forget it's just
yeah,
automatic.
yeah. So in that case where it's like if you put a rhino out early and it dies, the guys inside leave battle in 10th edition leave battle shocked, and in 11th if that stays, they must then continue to unbattle shock, and that could be impactful in a game, especially into like orcs where they're all in trucks that are fragile, and you can pop a truck, and now it's an 8+ leadership to get back and do stuff. That'd be cool. I don't know. We'll see. I like that change from a concept point of view because it makes Battle Shock more impactful. The other big change that they talked about was heavy. Heavy got changed to be a lot better now. I don't think many thousands of stuff get heavy, but heavy being you can now move 3 inches and still get the heavy bonus, which is pretty big. So if you have like an army wide heavy where it's like I have like for instance, I think the Imperial Fists Anvil Siege Force thing gives everybody an army heavy. Now it's like you can walk through a ruin, shoot, and still remain heavy. That's pretty big. That makes things like Eradicators or other anti-heavy bullet shooting makes them pretty good. So I'm
Yeah.
excited for that one. Um, that makes the rule not completely useless most of the time, because it was intent,
Yep.
pretty much not important. But yeah, 3 inches isn't a lot, but it is enough to be
It's
useful.
meaningful. It's meaningful.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
like
it means
exactly
that
the scenario you're talking about, in that
yeah,
you can hop out. Now you can't hop out of a
you can
transport. You can't come in from
you
reserves
can't.
like that. That won't work. But
But what you can do, let's use like a tank for an example. You could put a tank in a staging point 3 inches back from the line of sight. It has heavy, and on to you can drive it 3 inches forward, hit that line, and still get your headless. That's pretty big. There's a lot,
will it
lot of
work
tests go
if
through that.
don't they count as getting set up? Because I think there's a clause in there that says as long as you did not get, you have to meet all three. Like you didn't set
Yes,
up,
so
you didn't
you
arrive
can't
reserves or
disembark.
something like that.
Yeah, you can't disembark from a transport and get, but the
The
tank
heavy
itself
weapons.
can
Oh,
drive.
I see what
Yes,
you're. Yeah.
yes,
So
yeah,
yeah, you're shooting with the tank, or it's the firing hole
yes.
or firing port
So
or
like
whatever it is. Yep.
let's say you have a repulsor executioner and it's like 2.5 inches out on a sight. Now you can drive it up if you have heavy, and now you're shooting +1 to hit. That's pretty
Yep.
good.
That's really good.
That's pretty good.
Really, really good.
So
Yep.
yeah,
They also talked about the detachments and points.
yes they did.
We've learned that basically they're saying most of the codex detachments are going to be 2 detachment points.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the ones that they've been displaying so far in the series, the new detachment
Mm-hmm.
updates,
One
are
point.
all one.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think they're going to do? Basically reading on that, we know the codex ones. They're saying the codex detachments are all going to carry over, right?
Yep.
They're or most of them are going to carry over. I don't think there's any
Yes.
that they've said are not coming over from codexes. So that
I'm
means,
pretty sure they've guaranteed all codex ones stay. Grotmus is
yep,
pre-raid though, apparently.
yep, that we don't know. Some of they basically use the term that some will come over, some might not come over, some new ones might be created. It
Yeah.
certainly seems like what they are likely to do for Thousand Sons is we'll have our core like five, like Grand Coven, Change Host, Warp Meld, Warp Forged, and Phalanx. Those will be there. They're all going to be 2 CP. They're probably going to give Thousand Sons a 1 CP like flex
Yeah.
detachment that can just be thrown in there, which will, I mean, until we see what it is, we have no idea what their
Yeah.
intent is there.
Well, we know one of them. The one you hate the most. They could
Well,
update it and make it good again.
and then it's not Hex Warp anymore, so
Yeah,
it's
it's true.
okay.
You're right. Well,
Yeah,
I mean, so far the pattern has been they take the Grotmus attachment and they give it a new name or keep the same name and make it a 1 point attachment. So I assume we're getting a Hex Warp facsimile, if nothing else. And yeah, it'll probably be better than Hex Warp is right now. So, you know. But yeah, we're going to get 3 apparently. Everybody's gotten 3 so far, so we'll get 3 as well. And it could be anything. It could be, whatever they want to do. We'll see how
yep,
it goes. I'm excited for it. It'll be awesome. I do wonder if they make it so that Coven is 2 detachment points. I think that'd be a mistake. Because I think what probably happens is in most codexes, the detachment that became that was your index attachment first, that probably stays 3 detachment. Like Gladius and Blades of Ultramar, I would be shocked if those are 2 points. Same for like Coven and for like Hallowed Martyrs. Those ones are all very strong on their own and not designed to be a supplemental attachment. I think most other books have the rest of their suite of tests are focused on like 2 or 3 types of units. For instance, for us, Warp Meld, Zangors, Phalanx, Terminators, Warp Force Cabal, the Parking Lot, Change Host, the Demons. Those all have very specific niches that you can add a 1 point, tail in on there and be not as crazy. But obviously, Coven, Gladius, etc. Those feel like very all-rounder attachments, and I'd be surprised if they're 2. If they are 2, that might be their first mistake of 11th edition, is making those ones 2. Because if you could run, for example, if you could run Gladius in Space Marines and you also add in Librarius on top of it, and it's like now I have advanced shoot and charge, and my psychers have whatever the heck. It's like that can get spicy. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm excited for it. I think so far they've shown off some ones that they have made that are going to be pretty useful. They've shown that they're willing to break the mold. Like for example, Librarius has 5 enhancements and no stratagems. And I think one of the ones that came out earlier this week, I forget which one, has like 4 strats and no enhancements. So they have options, and it's going to be interesting to see how that works because could be very good. We'll see.
Yeah. Another one I think they could, just in context of what we were talking about before with demons, and that I could see the change host going to 3, and that if their stance is still that, look, we don't want you souping lots of demons into this stuff yet, then I could see them.
That'd be sad.
I could see them making it a 3 because it's like, look, if you're playing Tzeentch demons and all of them, I mean this like not just T-Suns, but Death Guard, World Leaders, and on. Those mixed detachments basically are 3-point detachments that it's like, this is how you play them mixed together. You don't get to bring in another thing. But I think that's really, you hit on the concern that I think a lot of people have in that. Can Games Workshop really handle all the permutations and all the potential gotchas that when you throw hundreds of thousands of players at this and say, okay, we're going to find the problems much quicker than your team of like 5 or 10 people are thinking those problems are there. Is it still viable, or is it so bad that the game just completely goes into, a dumpster fire right out of the gates? I have faith that even if that happens, given 3 months, the game will get into a much more stable state. Like even in the worst case scenario that happens, I'm not too concerned, and I'll be playing 40K, but
yeah,
it's a possibility. I mean, it's a possibility that you get stuff that is so out of whack, and so the combinations are so crazy that, we'll be sitting there going, why didn't they think of that? But the reality is you got just simply hundreds of thousands of players who are all pouring over this. And once one person finds it, everybody finds it, because then it's out.
Yep.
Word's out. Everybody knows about it now, and that's it. So we'll see what happens.
One positive change that we noticed from 9th to 10th was a much more heavy willingness to make like quick changes, quick early changes compared to earlier to the meta. Like in 10th, we did start edition with some absolutely busted stuff, and pretty quickly,
Thousand Suns.
Yeah, well, Deathwatch even before that, like Deathwatch got day 0 patched. Deathwatch got like a day -3. They got smacked. It's like, oh no. So they have shown a willingness to make quick changes, or quick comparatively. And so I think I agree. I think in 6 months from now, so like 4 or 5 months into 11th edition, I think whatever new hotness happens will be toned down, and it'll be a pretty good spot to be in. Hopefully. Yeah. We'll see. They could screw it up. I know, you never know. But I have faith that the changes they made to balance in 10th definitely showed me that and the positive reactions we got from the team, and also the negative ones when they took too long, which might be fresh right now, is gonna make them more willing to make changes. So yeah, we'll see. I do think the big problem that a lot of people are going to have is that, from what I've seen, nothing so far has changed enough to make what's good right now not good in 3 months. But of course, we are probably definitely getting points changes, so hopefully that fixes the immediate problems.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think the point changes are coming. When they get here, probably 11th, it'll just be rolled into whatever they do with the new MFM for 11th. Which it sounds like 11th is pre-ordering sometime end of May, early June, sometime like that.
Yeah, I've heard June 13th throughout there as the release day. I have no idea if that's true or not, but it's coming up. I mean, if nothing else, we will know when it is ready, at least this time next month. Like, In 4 weeks from now, it'll be June first week of June. We should know, if it's not already coming out, we'll know when it's going to be there. So yeah, we'll see.
And we have a tournament coming up in June. Well, technically, we have the tournament coming up this month in Dallas.
Yes.
And that's obviously going to be a 10th edition one. That's
Mhm.
the US Open there. Then we've got
Yeah.
the
When is Edmonton?
Edmonton is June. So that one I
Right.
am going to. That is going to be in
Yeah.
June. That's around, I think, the week of the 17th, if I remember right, something like that.
Okay. Okay.
Um, yeah,
Well, I
no,
guess we'll
it's
see if that's the first week of 10 of 11. We'll see.
I'm doubtful. I'm doubtful that that's what it's going to be because they would have to, when I was looking at this, trying to figure it out, the timing would be it's 2 weeks later. They would essentially have to announce pre-orders for this next week or so. They've got all these other armies to go through still. We've probably got 2 weeks of pre-releases or
That's
two
a good
weeks of
point, actually.
Warhammer. So they got the rest of the armies that they're doing all the releases for. I don't think they pack them all in next week at the pace they're going right now. Um, the next couple weeks, and then if they did the pre-orders the Saturday of the 23rd in May, that would mean 2 weeks after that, 2 to 3 weeks potentially after that is so you're talking June 6th. If they did June 6th, I think Edmonton, it's a possibility. But I think what it's going to be is I think that weekend is actually going to be the launch weekend, the one up in
Okay.
Edmonton.
Yeah, that
I
makes
I have
sense.
a feeling that's going to be launch weekend. We're still going to be playing 10th because the rules and everything are just dropping. And then I think Tacoma in July is going to be the first like major event that actually runs 11th edition, or first in North America. I think that'll be the first big major event there. There might be one over in Europe, but
Okay,
um,
so I did some quick math, and so I was curious. I believe, and I could be wrong, I believe there are 24 factions in 40K right now, and we've
and we've
seen 5 of them so far. So that means that there is probably between 19 and 21 more to go through. So that's not that's what that's let's see,
four
if it's
weeks
20, if
if they
it's
do
yeah,
if
that's
they do
that's
one a week, or sorry, one a day. That's 4 weeks.
yeah.
So
So
that's roughly
if we get like if 21's the number, let's say that they include Death
yeah.
Watch and they include like and all the factions. Like, let's say in the Pipe Dream, Harlequins gets their own thing as well, and you get 26, right? Then that would be 3 weeks from today. It would be the last one, and then they could go up for pre-order that like the 30th and 31st, and
Hmm.
come out the 13th, 14th. But you're probably right. It's probably more likely we get pre-orders on the 6th and 7th, and they come out the 20th, 21st. That would be
Yeah.
more likely. We'll see. I mean, it's possible that we get on the 13th, and then Edmonton is like the next week. It's like, here's the rules.
Yeah.
Have fun.
We'll
But we'll
see.
see. I mean,
I'm sure they will. I'm sure they're going to have. This actually one of the fun things I am looking forward to at Edmonton's. I'm sure they're going to have probably the launch box on display. They
yes,
will
demo games.
probably
Yeah,
have. It's possible they even have copies of the rule book sitting there that you can take a look at.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
totally possible. They might even be doing some demo games or things like that. Like Games Workshop tends to do that at their tournament events. They are pretty good about that. So
Yeah, that'd be
we'll see.
cool.
Yeah.
I guess you'll have to fill us in when you go and see what happens. Yeah,
I'll do my
yeah.
best. Yeah. Yeah.
Give us the inside scoop.
So I think that's probably going to cover it for this episode.
Yeah,
We'll definitely be back probably within a week or two again,
yeah.
cover more
Well,
of the
and
stuff that comes out.
and I have another event coming up soon. I have a end of the month, 30th, 31st. I'll be in Omaha for a teams event, so I should have more to talk about. If
Nice.
not sooner than that, then at least then. Taking Sons again, so it'll be fun. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if they pull the trigger and nerf Defilers next week. but probably not. I would
Probably
guess.
not. Probably not. No.
We're probably going to be in the crab worlds for a little while longer.
They're going to let everybody have their fun, and then when 11th shows up, the party's over. Yeah.
Yes. Crab Wave
So.
ends on 13th of June.
So are you sticking with Thousand Suns through 11th edition, or you got another army?
I'm gonna try. I do have a decent amount of Space Marines painted, in Blood Angels and also Salamanders. But if Thousand Suns are even halfway decent, I'm playing them for sure because
That's
they are my first love, my first affection. And I got into 40k, so I played Magic for a while, and then my Magic friends started playing 40k, and they said, "You want to play?" I'm like, "Yeah." What are the Magic wizards in this game? And they pointed me here, and here I am, and here I stayed because I like Magic. So that's my thing. I played Red and Blue in Magic, so I am now fully converted to 40k, and as you can expect, that's my place to be. So yeah,
I think we'd probably find a lot of commonalities in other Thousand Suns players. They all probably have things that rhyme like that. So
yeah, we're here for a reason, right? It's not
right.
It's not a lot of models. It's the ones that matter.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. Well, thanks again for coming on, Tom. We'll
thanks for having
catch
me.
back up here in a couple weeks.